And as for Joe Biden, he was not on the campaign trail yesterday. Instead, he was in Delaware preparing for tonight when the presidential candidates will face off in their final debate in Nashville. Now, their microphones will be muted at times. That is a change, and this may be a critical moment overall as President Trump trails Joe Biden nationwide and in key swing states like Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Wisconsin. We are joined now by CBS News political analyst Reince Priebus, President Trump's former chief of staff, and former senior advisor to President Obama, Valerie Jarrett. Good morning to both of you. Reince, I want to begin with you. The president appears to be trailing in the polls. Even if the polls were as wrong as they were in 2016, he appears to be trailing. So the question is, first off, do you believe the president has some ground to make up? And if so, how does he do it?
Well, thanks for having me. Well, there's always room to make up ground, right? No matter where you're at, even if you're a little ahead or a little behind. I think, number one, if you do look at those polls, they're really not that much different, Tony, than they were 4 years ago. I mean, the averages are pretty close to the same. And if you look at the day before the election in 2016, they're not that far off. Everyone was writing off Donald Trump in 2016. He pulled it off. Well, how does he do it? Number one, let Biden talk. Let him explain his positions on the Supreme Court packing, on ISIS, on the Iran deal. You know, what happened in regard to terrorism around the world under his watch? What's his position on taxes? He says he wants to increase taxes. He wants to increase taxes on small businesses, which employ over 95% of the people. What's his position on energy? He said he was for the Green New Deal. Now he says he's not. He says he was against fracking, or for fracking. Now he's, he was against fracking. Now he's for fracking. Can't keep track of it. The last thing I'd say to the president, just have fun. Be happy. Let Biden talk. Let him explain away.
We'll see if that version of President Trump comes to debate tonight. Valerie, similar question to you. We just heard Reince say that the president should let Joe Biden talk. We expect fewer interruptions tonight because microphones will be muted during the opening comments. But open talking time can be its own kind of hazard. Anyone who spends their life on TV will know that. So what does Joe Biden do to avoid a pitfall and make some gains?
Oh, I don't think he's worried about any pitfalls. He's looking forward to having an opportunity to speak directly to the American people about what he's going to do to bring us back from this horrific COVID-19 pandemic, and also to build back our economy and make sure that nobody gets left behind. He is not going to raise taxes on anyone who makes less than $400,000. He intends to help small businesses grow, and he intends to follow the science. And he's going to do it with a tone of inclusion. I love it when he says, look, I'm running as a Democrat, but I'm going to be the president for all of America. I think that's refreshing.
Reince, word on the street, unconfirmed reports, is that you've been working with the president to prep him for tonight's debate. Is that true?
No, I mean, that's not true. I'm certainly talking to the president quite a bit, and the team, and, you know, the whole group of us, you know, the 2016 crew, the 2020 crew, we've all come together and doing everything we can to help the president, the senators in our party win and have the best year that we can. I do think it's going to be close, and if you look at early vote and you look at absentee ballot voting, and it's actually a lot closer than people realize, especially with rural America voting in staggering numbers. The president won by about 18% in rural America 4 years ago. That number's up by 28%. It'll be interesting how suburban America and rural America come together and what that looks like on election night.
Valerie, I think Reince brings up a really good point. 40 million people, it says, have already voted so far. The record turnout numbers. What does that say to you?
What that says to me is that there's a lot of enthusiasm for this race, and I think for Joe Biden. We're also seeing big numbers in our cities across the country. Unfortunately, Gail, long lines, and I think that's atrocious that the United States can't pull off an election without that. But I do agree with Reince that it tends to tighten at the end, which is why I would say to everyone out there, if you see that Joe Biden is leading in the polls, please don't have that give you a sense of complacency that makes you stay at home. Make a plan, go out and vote early if you can, so that you aren't stuck waiting on Election Day in really, really long lines. And for our safety, take the reasonable precautions as well. Wear a mask, social distance.
President Obama, as you know, Valerie, hit the road last night. He, as they say, held nothing back. So I'm wondering for you, when you watched him speak so candidly, it was very clear, he had a very clear message. They say it's unprecedented to see him speak that way. Is it personal for him, or do you think he's mostly concerned about the country? What's his thinking?
Oh, it's totally about the country, Gail. He is so frustrated with the way the Trump administration has dropped the ball in terms of how they handle this COVID-19, the rhetoric and the tone and the policies, the lack of acknowledgement that we have racial healing that has to be done in this country, the way that he does not take an inclusive view of our country, and the messages that we've sent around the world. People used to look at the United States as a beacon of hope, and now they're just scratching their heads at best. And so I think, he enjoyed it. You could tell he was having a good time out there. And as the race closes down, he wanted to go back to Pennsylvania, a state that he won twice with the help of Joe Biden, who's, of course, from Scranton. So I think it was a powerful message. It was an honest message, and it was a wake-up call to everyone who's still not sure they want to vote.
All right, Reince, you're predicting a good debate for President Trump tonight? A different Trump?
Yeah, I think if you look back at the town hall that President Trump did with Savannah Guthrie last week, and he handled a pretty tough interview very, very well. I think he got high marks on that. I think you're going to see that same President Trump show up tonight.
All right, we will be watching. I know you guys, too. We'll see you tonight. Valerie Jarrett and Reince Priebus. Thank you guys for taking the time this morning. Our live primetime coverage of the final presidential debate starts tonight at 9 Eastern Time, 6 o'clock Pacific, right here on CBS.